Hello, it's Claire from Come Back Brighter. This is my third video in the series, What to Expect When You Go No Contact. Now, so this is following up from the last video where I discussed the act that the narcissist puts on, basically to keep you in contact with them, okay? Where they pretend to be what you want them to be so that you stay close to them. Now, so this time I'm going to talk about the cycle of abuse, because I think this is also another important aspect, and it also ties in with the act, okay? So a narcissist isn't abusive all the time. And that's basically because, like I said in the last video, like with the act, if they were abusive all the time, no one would spend any time with them. Nobody. And the narcissist desperately needs people around them. Okay, desperately needs to have people around to scapegoat, people to boost their image, people to boost their ego. They need people around them. Okay, so with the cycle of abuse, what effectively happens is there can be sometimes very long periods when everything is okay. All right, and that by okay, I don't mean that it's actually good. I just mean that perhaps it's not as bad as it can be when it reaches the peak of the cycle of abuse, which is when they're being their most abusive. And even in the time when it's not that bad, you're still walking on eggshells. You're still worried about how they're going to react to you. You're still like living your life on edge, still prioritizing the narcissist and whatever it is that they want. Okay, because by this stage you will have gone through the cycle of abuse very many times. So a relationship with a narcissist, you can never relax, and that's because even in the times when things aren't so bad, things are going to be slowly building up to like the peak of that cycle of abuse when they're in their most fully abusive stage. And for a narcissist, it's almost like a fix. It's like a high that they need. So and that sometimes that high can sustain them for a little while. Okay. Or what it might be actually is, whilst you're going through a calmer season with them, a calmer period with them, where things are not so bad, somebody else is getting the abuse from them. So they're sustaining themselves in multiple different ways. And that might be someone in the family, that might be one of their friends, that might be one of their colleagues or their boss, or it might be just like the neighbor, or even, you know, like the waiter or waitress that serves them, anything like that. They'll find their way to abuse somebody somewhere. They've got to do it. They've got to do it. So when you're going through this calm time, then the cracks will start to show, and you will have seen this previously. Okay, it doesn't last. You start to think, oh, everything's okay. Oh, maybe I can breathe a little bit more. Maybe I can relax a little bit more, and then it will start to escalate again, and then it will start off potentially with like them being a bit, a bit snippy with you, a bit impatient with you. Maybe they start spoiling for a fight. This starts to build up and build up and build up until you reach like the pinnacle point of it. And that's the point at which like it's the maximum drama. It's the row that happens. It's whatever that goes on, can go on for a very long time. Because these like the peaks of the cycle of abuse, that the most abusive periods aren't necessarily just for 5 minutes or an hour. Sometimes they can go on for months. And the narcissist will want to exploit it. They want to drag people in. They'll want to make this last for a very long time, because the longer it goes on, the more energy they're feeding from you, and the more attention they're getting from people. They're feeding from that. They need that to feel alive. And then what will happen is there'll be some sort, so it will reach its big crescendo, and then you'll probably go into a period where it's they're giving you the silent treatment, they're stonewalling you, and then something will happen. So usually what happens is it's on our part, we apologize or whatever to try and work through it, even though it wasn't our fault, even though we didn't cause the drama, even though we're not responsible for the chaos and heartache that came from that big drama and nastiness that happened. We're not responsible for it, but we end up apologizing. We sweep it under the carpet, and then the relationship goes back to kind of what it was before, where it's kind of okay again. But you're still waiting because you know it's going to happen again. It's happened enough for you to see this is the pattern. This repeats itself. I can't relax because something's going to happen, okay? And we think that we're responsible for that. We think that we say or do the thing that sets them off. And the truth is, sometimes there is something that we do or say that appears to set them off, but it's because their ego is so fragile that it takes offense to the most crazy things that you never think in a million years. Or if that's not the case, they will contrive it to make it look like it's your fault. So you say or do something and they will take it, they will twist it, and they will use it for their own advantage so that whatever's happening is all your fault as the scapegoat. So either way, it's your fault. Either way, you insulted their fragile ego, or they took something that you did and they made it so that it appeared to be your fault. It will never be the narcissist's fault. And like I said, what will happen is you'll go through this horrible time where you're devastated and hurt and upset and sad and angry and confused and frustrated. And then somehow it will all even out again. And you'll go, well, how did that happen? What happened there? It's like a tornado came into your life, turned it all upside down, threatened the very core of your relationship. And then it's all over again. And you're watching the dust settle and you're like, well, what happened there? But we remember these things. And I think we go to no contact when we've witnessed that cycle so many times, and we're like, I can't live like this anymore. This is not a relationship. This is not what I want. And you know it will happen again. So the next time they might blame something else that you've done or said, or twist something else that you've done or said, but you know it's going to end up being somehow pinned on you, even though it's all about how the narcissist has contrived it. Okay? Now, I've been thinking, I always think about this. I think about one particular occasion with my parents when they came over to help me, and I say that in air quotes. They had to convince me to come over when I was due to have my son. So they had to convince me that they were going to come over and help. And my dad was saying, oh, he'll help in the garden and my mum will help cooking. And I've shared this story before. Basically, I came out of hospital and my father had had 5 days of an empty house to do all the things that I asked him to do, because that's what he was supposed to be doing. He was supposed to be helping. And he waited until the day we got back to do those things. So he was painting in my son's bedroom in the nursery where a newborn baby was going, which stank. And he was doing some woodworking stuff. So he was using a planer. And I don't know if you've ever heard that noise when it's pulling that wood off. It's horrible noise. So he waited until I got back from hospital to do that, which was deliberate. And then he sent my mum in to ask me what I was doing for tea. And the whole premise of them coming was that they were supposed to look after me and my mum was supposed to cook, so I didn't have to worry about it. And I went berserk. I went absolutely, I've never shouted at my dad, but that's the only occasion when I ever shouted at him. And they stormed off, and they didn't even get to leave before I was out there saying, can we talk about this like adults? And basically they still left. So I think my answer to that was no, they couldn't talk about this like adults, and they left. And I was recounting this to somebody, and I don't know how, because that wasn't the time when I went no contact. That was before I knew about narcissistic personality disorder. But I don't quite know how we went from my parents effectively stropping out, my dad contriving this drama, then stropping out, to us continuing to have a relationship from that. I think basically what just happened was it was swept under the carpet. It was probably never mentioned again on either side, except I'm sure my dad used it to badmouth me to anybody who'd be willing to listen to him. But as far as I was concerned, I wanted to forget about it, so I swept it under the carpet again. And so the relationship carries on until the next time something like that happens. But it's really strange how it happens, because I can't see how it went from me telling them to leave my home because I chucked them out, to them leaving, to us continuing a relationship after that without talking about it. But then that's because I've been now nearly 8 years no contact, and my expectations of what a relationship should be are very different than what they used to be. But somehow we went through that. And don't get me wrong, that wasn't the only time. That was the only time I ever lost my rag. That was the only time I ever shouted. But every other time I wanted to shout. Every other time I wanted to say, look, you did this, that was wrong. You apologize, account for it. So if you understand that it's a cycle, you understand, therefore, that so when I went no contact, we hadn't had a row. Nothing, I don't think anything unpleasant had happened on that occasion when they came to see me. Okay. Well, nothing, nothing big drama, no big chaos. It's just the usual anxiety that I had about seeing my parents and worry about my son having too much to do with them and stuff. All of that. I had the usual stuff. Was my house tidy enough? I had all that usual stuff, but there was no big row. And that was really because I went no contact because I'd found out about narcissistic personality disorder, and it explained everything. And a part of me knew I was going to be in that situation again. I knew there was going to be another row that was never going to be resolved to my satisfaction, and I was going to have to sweep it under the carpet again. But it wasn't just me anymore, and it wasn't just me and my husband anymore. It was now my son that was getting involved in it too. And I couldn't let him go through what I went through. And I couldn't let him think that that was a normal way to behave. So that changed things. But I think there comes a point when you realize, and I'd gone no contact previously to this time, but then got reeled back in again when my mother had a health scare. So I think that there comes to a point when you realize that this is going to be my relationship with them. It's going to be this constant cycle of like, everything's okay, but I'm still watching what I'm saying. I'm still I'm walking on eggshells. I'm worried about what's coming out of my mouth. I'm filtering everything. I'm only telling them stuff that I think that they'd like to hear. I'm watching my P's and Q's. I'm making sure that I behave myself. I'm not relaxed. I don't really enjoy spending time with them. I'm doing it out of obligation. And you're just waiting for the cracks to start to show again until it builds up to that horrible time again. And then it's up to you to suck it all up. It's up to you to take it. It's up to you to just be like, oh yes, that's okay. That's how you can treat me. Or that's how you can treat my husband. Or that's how you can treat my child. And sweep it under the carpet and carry on again. But you know it's coming. So it's inevitable. So you know what? There will be times when it appeared that it wasn't too bad. There will be times when you think, oh, but that because this ties in also with the act, okay? They will also put the act up. The act is the part of the cycle of abuse, okay? And the act will come after they've given you the silent treatment, when they feel that you're still like distancing yourself a little bit, maybe that you're like reevaluating your relationship. Maybe you're having thoughts about, you're not seeing them so much, or you're not contacting them so much. That will be the time when they put on the act. And then they will pretend to be everything that you want them to be until you start to relax, until they're fed up, until they want some drama, they want some chaos, until maybe you say something that hurts their fragile ego. And you don't even know what it is that you say. They won't tell you. There will not be a conversation at the end of it where they say, you said this thing that hurt me. You're just left to guess. You're left to analyze everything that you said and did and think, well, it could be that, it could be that, it could be that, it could be that, it could be that. And that means every single time you're seeing them, when it's not so bad, and I say that in air quotes, is you're thinking, I can't say that, I shouldn't say that, I won't say that, they don't want to hear that. Last time I think they got sniffy about that. Oh dear, when I said that last time, this is what caused the chaos. So it's all just other ways in which you're constantly screening and filtering everything that you say, because you know it's going to happen again. You've seen it. If you've been raised with narcissistic parents, you've seen this cycle of abuse possibly hundreds of times. And you may actually have even witnessed it with other people too. Because this is what happens. It isn't just you. It's not just personal to you. So it is you can never be relaxed. You can never be yourself when it comes to spending time with a narcissist. Because you know, even if you don't know consciously, you know that this is all going to happen again. And they will never apologize. They will never take responsibility. And they will never change their behavior. That's why we have to step in, and we have to be the one that put the end to the cycle of abuse. We have to say, stop, no more. Because we know what's happening. We know we're going to be stuck in this place again. And our children, if we've got children, and these are our parents we're talking about, your children are going to be witnessing this, thinking this is normal. Your children are going to be deeply affected by this, thinking that, oh, that's okay, I can treat mum like that because that's how granddad treats her. I can shout and scream at her and never apologize. I can make her cry and never take responsibility for my actions. I can treat her like a piece of dirt because that's what granddad does. And in the meantime, he's pouring poison in your children's ears, or your mother, whoever it is. Your children are witnessing this, and they're going to think that's okay. And not only that, your children are witnessing it, that they're habituated to narcissistic abuse. They will think that that's the way of a relationship, so they will attract narcissistic friends, narcissistic colleagues, narcissistic partners, all the things throughout their life, because they think that's normal. They think that's the way it's supposed to be. And that leaves them, they're so vulnerable. They're so vulnerable. And when their baseline, their normal is narcissistic abuse, then their lives will be miserable. They'll never have good friendships. They'll never have great relationships. They'll never be in a position, they'll never feel relaxed. They'll never feel loved and accepted. They'll never feel like they're safe. And they could well be at risk of other things too. They could be abused in other ways too, because this leaves them vulnerable, because they're targets, because the predators, who are the narcissists, and the people who want to abuse them, it will see from a mile off. So I want you to understand, unfortunately, I'm really sad. I hate saying this but it's true. And if you're at the beginning stages of no contact, this is what you need to hear. You need to hear. And do you know what? There's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do that will change it. No doubt you've already done everything that you can. No doubt you've swept an awful lot of things under the carpet already. No doubt they've already caused you a lot of pain, a lot of anger, a lot of frustration, a lot of sadness already. And it doesn't matter what you do, because this isn't about your actions. You're coming at this relationship. You want to have a healthy, loving, supportive, caring relationship with them. That's what you want. But what the narcissist wants is someone who they can dump all of their crap onto, somebody who they can use and abuse, somebody who they can treat like dirt. That's all they're interested in. They want to take your attention and your energy. And they will take it. They will take and take and take until there's nothing left. There's nothing left for you. There's nothing left for your partner. There's nothing left for your kids. There's nothing left for your friends. There's nothing left for your job. There's nothing left for anything. They will take and take and take and take. So I hope this helps you to understand. And if it feels, like I said in the last video, if it feels painful, if it makes you wince a little bit, feels a bit ouchy, that's the pain there. That's the wound that needs to be healed. Because this isn't personal. This isn't about you. This isn't because you're a bad person, because you're not. They've told you you are. It's not true. It's to control you. It's to make you feel like it's your fault. But it's not. It's all the narcissists and their machinations and their creating drama and their desperate need for other people's energy and attention, which isn't love. So if you need me, if you're going through this, if this is beginning stages of no contact for you, then please reach out to me. I am here for you. Please either drop a comment here or contact me on Clare, CLARE, comebackbrighter@gmail.com.